Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu-Crafts, and today we have a Cricut Christmas card for you. Now this is a card that I've designed myself on Cricut Design Space. Design Space now offers a lot more manipulation of images and stuff, so you can actually do a lot more designing yourself. I know that it used to be that Silhouette was really more the one that did that, and I still think they're ahead on that. I think they still do a lot more features, but certainly Cricut has that ability now a lot more than it used to. So what we've got here is a Christmas card that I took quite a few different snowflakes. They had quite a lot of different layers to them, and I popped them all together, close together, so they were kind of overlapping at certain points a little bit, and then I welded specific parts of them together so that because they weren't always like the bottom layer, it just depended on how it worked, and basically there was like 4 or 5 layers on some of these, but I just did 2 layers and welded. I also, once I'd welded them and put them in position and overlapping, etc., I manipulated the layers as well, so the actual layers are slightly distorted, so the snowflakes are slightly different than what they were originally. And also what I did was I made one layer slightly bigger so that it showed up. So again, it just was a lot of manipulation. And then once I got it how I wanted, there was obviously quite a lot of excess around the edge, so I used the slice feature and I sliced around to take the excess off on both layers, and then we fiddled around doing some matting. We got a card. I've also included the envelope that went with it. What I did was, you can see they're both red, but they're very slightly different. This red is very slightly different. Originally it was the same, but what it was doing was when you got to make it and it was putting it on the mat, it was putting the envelope with the red of the Christmas word. And I thought, well, if you didn't want to cut the envelope, then it would make it easier if I allowed it to be separate for you, because you just wouldn't have to cut that last mat. It wasn't super difficult to design, but it wasn't super easy either. It was fiddly. So you may decide that if you like the card that it would be simpler to download. There are a number of other ones on there as well, including last year I did that really cute critter set that had like 40 cards or something in it, and so that's all on there, and there's all sorts on there at the moment, so I've been trying to add things in as I do it, so hopefully that will be helpful for you. If you don't know where to find my website, all you need to do if you're here on YouTube is go to the paragraph below this video. It says like show more, click that and it will open up that paragraph, and then you'll see a link to the blog post that goes with this card, and that will take you to the website. I'll have a link in the products, because I always list products used at the bottom of the blog post, and I'll have a link on there anyway to the download. If not, you can just click on store or shop, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's on the top menu as well. So there's lots of different ways to get there, but you'll find it there as well. Okay, so let's now get making. So I've set up my Cricut Explore, because I've got the Explore, so I am now going on here to click make, because I need to do a couple of things. Now that's fine, I've got A4 12 by 12 for that one, I've got 12 by 12 for that one, that will be fine. It's actually A4, so I'm going to change that to A4. It probably doesn't matter so much for this size image, because it's not going to move anything. But the next one here, this is my Miri card, and I have A4 for this. Now clearly I have to tell it that it's A4, because it's not going to fit otherwise. So what we've got now is one of those, the 2 Merry Christmases, or Christmases and Merry Christmas. Then I've got the next one at A4 as well, and it's done the next one at A4 as well. It's understood that the colour is all in A4, so it's translated that all across. And we only want 1 copy, so that's all good. Okay, so just press continue. Okay, so the machine is set to cardstock, so what your dial says on your actual Cricut machine is what it will tell you it is here. So it's a good way to double check that you've set it to the correct thing. It's kind of like a reminder, so it's saying to you that's what it's set to. And so if you've got lighter paper, you want to adjust it, you can adjust it each time. So if you've got different materials, so for example my Miri card is a little thicker, especially with the coating, so I might adjust that for those mats to go a little higher. So that's not going to be a problem. You just change it before you start cutting, when you hit the cut button on the actual machine, and then it will adjust for you. So that's not a problem. Don't think because it's set to that you have to keep it set to that. Sorry, that's my camera switching itself off in the background there. So then it's telling you, so this is mat 1, and it's telling me for this mat, which we can see here is the light cream, and it is the card. So again, if you're not doing the card, then this won't apply to you, but if you're using your own card base. But if you are cutting it, what it's saying to you here is you need to use your score tool, so you need to make sure that's put into your machine, and then also your blade. So it tells you, and then later on, actually that's the point, where is that? Oh, here. On this one, it's going to tell me here I need an ink. Now it's telling me it's black. That's just because I didn't change the color. But so you just, is a good way when you're as you're loading your mats, you don't need to do anything further on the screen. You just keep doing it on the actual machine, but it is quite good to keep checking the machine, the screen I should say, so that you can make sure that you've got the right things loaded in to your actual clamps. Okay, so I'm going to now switch off recording on the computer here, and we're going to go across to the Cricut. So there's everything cut. I had to redo this one because when I cut it, I forgot that this is slightly lighter paper or card, so I cut it at the cardstock depth, and it basically started ripping it. I wasn't watching it cut either, so I didn't notice until it was too late. But so what I did was I took it down to light cardstock, and then it cut fine. So do watch that, because you might think, oh, I need to cut it deeper, because that's why it's kind of not cutting through and it's making a mess of it. But it can often be that it's cutting too deep and it's actually dragging the card. So just play around with the depths and think about that as well, because clearly I didn't. So I've got all these bits, so we're going to start constructing. So I'm going to pop these to one side and then we'll start putting bits together. Okay, so I'm going to put this one to one side because I'm going to stick my snowflakes onto this before I stick them onto this, because these two layers are going to mat, and then that's going to mat on there, and then my snowflakes are going to mat on top. But my theory is if I mess it up, at least I don't have to recut everything. So I'm going to stick this green onto the gold. And the good thing about using a wet glue is it just gives you a little bit of movement time to get your mats in the right place, especially on Miri. In fact, with Miri you have to be careful because it does move around quite a lot until it starts going off a little, so just watch that. So I'm going to pop that one to one side. I'm going to do exactly the same on these inner bits. So there's our inner piece done, so we'll put that to one side a minute. Now I'm just gonna grab my little Christmas, because I would do the card next, but the Christmas was all over the card, so we're going to do that next instead. But all I like to do is just put a blob of glue down there and then just lightly dunk basically my element in, and you can just see if they've missed any pieces, and then you can just get adhesive all over the back, and then just very carefully pop it down where it needs to go. Yeah, that's not where it needs to go, but we'll get it there. And then there is a little star, so I'm just gonna lightly coat that with some adhesive and just stick him in place. There we go, so that's our Christmas done, and now we're going to do the Merry Christmas. Now we've got a little green star on our Merry Christmas, but we actually don't need it. I mean, we actually don't even need the green part of the Christmas, because that's actually not going to show, because it's going to get covered like that. I don't need that or that or that. So let's get rid of that. That's just going to make it a bit easier to stick. Okay, so now we need to stick the big part of the Christmas, which is a bit easier because it's a larger piece, so you can add the adhesive directly to the back. And then just flip that over and then stick that straight on. Okay, so there it is done. So we're going to pop that to one side. That can sort of set, as it were, completely dry, and then while that's doing that, we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so the next bit we're going to do is my snowflakes here. So I'm just going to make sure which way round they need to go, make sure I glue on the right side. Okay, it looks pretty good actually. So we have offset it, so it's just a case of making sure we line up the edges. And it doesn't need to be perfect because you've got the gold underneath, and that's going to make it look fine however it kind of ends up, because the gold is sort of offset deliberately, so that's why I did it like that, so that it was much easier. You can see like the gold there is slightly wider, I think, yeah, but that's fine, that's kind of the point. And I'm just using Crafter's Companion Stick and Stay. You want to make sure that your edges line up on this bit. This is the bit that will line up. There we go. But as you can see, if you get the two sides done, the rest will kind of follow suit. Doesn't that look pretty? I don't know if you can really catch it. Just so effective, I think. And then we're going to stick that just using this adhesive, in theory. I'm just going to use my Cosmic Shimmer across the back, because again for this bit I want it to be flat. So you can see if you did this in bulk, it's actually quite quick to make, because the layers aren't too hard to pop together. And you can really change it up with the colours. They look so pretty. So then we'll just let that dry a little. And while that's doing its thing, we're going to get our card here. Now, I don't know if you can quite catch. There is actually a score line, but it's so faint, I would be very surprised if you can see it. Now, what you want to do is very lightly just take your card and just curve it. And as you curve, you can see the score line starts to take shape. It starts to find itself. And it's at that point you can put your little corners together and get your score tool or your finger, whichever, and just run it along there. But if you try to do it before you've done that sort of curving, that bending, you're going to just miss it, because it's a very light, the way Cricut does the scoring is really delicate, very light. So this is the inside of the card. So there's that, and then we're going to take this piece, and I want to decide which way up. Do I want it that way or that way, because that depends on where this is going to sit. Oh no, definitely that way. It looks weird to me the other way. So let's just take this, and again, I just want to make sure there's not too much near the edges so it leaks out. Just make sure it's in the right place, and then hold. So I've put the foam all over the back, so now I just want to position it. It's so hard. It's all very well doing shiny stuff, isn't it, because it looks so gorgeous in person, but on camera it's such a pain because you don't get to see it so well. Okay, so that's that, and there it is on the inside. So I feel like I'd like to add a little bit of sparkle. I know I've got the shine on there, but it feels like it needs a little lift. Stickles to it. And I've got this one here, which is like a goldy colour. And what you do is you go round on the actual gold. It just gives it a little lift. Just so it's really cute. See, there you go. Can you see what I mean? It just looks really nice. So I'm going to go around and finish that off. I'm obviously not going to do it on every bit of snowflake. That would be insane. But I'll do this Merry Christmas and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so here it is. I think what it does is, obviously it's just nice. It adds a bit of sparkle. But it lifts, and it's quite hard to see on camera, I think, because of the sparkle, and the shimmer just doesn't show quite as good. But it lifts the Merry Christmas a little bit more off the background and just gives it a little bit more definition from the background, which is potentially quite busy. I mean, we've got it in quite subdued colours, but nonetheless, that shadow's the same colour and it just lifts it a little, and I think that just finishes it off really, really nicely. So that is it. I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. Don't forget to go on across to the blog post to see photos, links to products used, of course link to the actual file for the download, etc, etc. So thank you so much for watching. As I say, hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.